Welcome to Discover Janesville. My name is Yuri Rashkin, and we are guests today at Fagan Automotive. And Fagan Automotive is also the newest sponsor of Discover Janesville. My next guest is Tom Westrick. Tom, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Yuri. Glad to be here.
And you have put many, many years at the JM plant. Doing what? You were in charge of the education center.
Right. I retired in April. I had 32 years then. And I started out working on the line, and then I went into management for several years. And then I went back hourly, and that's when I had the wonderful opportunity to be involved in the education and training department. In the early 90s, I was appointed by the International Union as a joint training rep. And shortly after that, I was made administrator of the education center. It was called the Rick Holte Education Center.
What led to your interest in education?
I have a bachelor's degree in secondary education, and I very briefly taught in the K-12 system. I realized that probably wasn't a good mix for me. Being a good educator took a lot of dedication and hard work, and at that point in my life, I didn't feel I was that dedicated to the educational process, which is kind of ironic. It kind of went full circle, and I had the opportunity to work with adults, and my opinion, working with adults is a lot easier than working with kids. So I applaud those who work with our children today. But so I've always been interested in education.
How did you end up at the plant?
It was kind of a long way of getting there. After I graduated from college, I did the short stint in teaching. I lived in Colorado for a while. I worked for Adolf Coors Brewery. And then I came back to Wisconsin, and they were hiring. It was in 1977. They were hiring, so I hired in. I was looking for a human resources job or some type of management job. At the time, there weren't any available. So I started working on the line for a short period of time, and then became a supervisor. That's when I stayed in that rank until the late 80s, and then I had the opportunity to go back hourly and then become involved in the education.
So it was a gradual process. Yes. Over those years.
Yeah, and it was a good perspective because I could see from both sides of the fence, so to speak. I could see from the management aspect, and then I could also see how things work from the union.
That's very. So what was the main difference?
Both sides were very, very. The education and they cared about their people. I mean, they wanted to finish product. Mm-hmm. Yet both sides were very willing to make sure that they had the tools available to get that good quality product out the back door. And I mean, not only mechanical tools, but also the knowledge. And that's where the education center came in. They realized that a lot of people that were working there probably didn't have high school diplomas. They realized that with technology evolving and requiring more and more of the people working on the assembly line, they're going to need some skills in computers, working on different quality standards and things of that nature. And they realized that possibly that there were some people that didn't have those skills. So where they came together was that they were both, the union and the management, were concerned about the quality of the product. And both were concerned about making sure that they had the best employees and the training and those kinds of things. Exactly. They wanted to make sure that that the employees were trained to be successful and to be able to build a quality product, which we did. What are some of the realizations some things that you realized when you kind of went from working on the line to being a supervisor? When I first started working there, it was hard for me to realize that the workers were paid the kind of money they were paid. I mean, coming out of education, I mean, compared to what I was making teaching, compared to that, there was quite a difference. After working there a while, I understood why. I mean, there was the boredom, and also just the monotonous, and it's tough on your body. We have a lot of people that have never been in the plant. We had a lot of people that were very critical of the pay and wages that we received. yet really didn't understand what type of demand was made on our workers. A couple years ago, we had members from the media come in to the General Motors plant and actually take tours and actually see what was being done. Once they realized what was demanded of the employees, they changed their tune a little bit. They had no idea what type of demands they were looking at.
So that was the perspective that you brought to being a supervisor, was appreciation for what people online had to go through.
Right, and then on the other side, knowing that in order for a person to do a good job, they had to have the tools to do a good job. So they had to have the training in order for them to do a good job, whether it's working with computers or giving presentations, if they're group leaders. You can't expect people to do a good job if they don't have the tools to do that. And so that's where the education and training, being a joint venture, became very important.
Okay.
Then also with the skilled trades part of it, obviously with technology evolving at a rapid pace, our skilled trades people had to be constantly trained on the new initiatives, the new equipment, things like that.
Well, the machines got more and more complex all the time.
Sure. And so there was a lot of training required on that aspect of it, keeping the skilled trades at a level where they're going to be able to keep the equipment running.
What are some of the memories that you have of the plant? Some of the stories that you may want to share?
I have a lot of stories. I don't know how many I can share, but I think...
Let's just start with the best, and then we'll just go down, maybe as we can fit.
Excuse me. I think probably the best is just getting to know the people. Many people have said that working there is like working in a small city. There's so many different types of people. You look at it as we had our own medical, we had our own fire protection, we had our own security. In like any group of people, you have your certain amount of characters, you have a certain amount of reputable people, and everything else. So there's just a wide variety of different types of people there.
So it's a world unto itself.
Absolutely. It's under one big roof, one big flat roof. But I think probably the best memory that I have was we had a program, a high school completion program called the External Diploma Program. And that allowed people to get their high school diplomas in a way other than the HSED or the GED, which is common now. And basically it was a competency-based program where you had to demonstrate competencies in ways that may not be traditional. For example, a problem might be figure out how much it would cost to carpet that office if the carpet was $25.50 a square yard. By figuring that out, you may be demonstrating 5 or 6 different math competencies. You're demonstrating measuring, you're finding area, you're changing square feet into square yards because that's how carpet is sold. You're multiplying by decimals because it's 25 whatever per square yard. So by demonstrating that, you're covering several competencies, and that's how the program was set up. We had a lot of people that probably may not have decided to earn their high school diploma if they would rely on the GED, HSED. This way, they were more comfortable because they could do that. If you ask them multiply by numbers or convert square feet into square yards, they may not know how to do it. Put into real life situations, they knew how to do it. So, yeah, we had probably between 25 and 30 graduates. It was pretty cool. We had